How to Have Good Social Skills Even If Bored and in Most Days by Alan Fashion. Computers don't have to be a problem. This article offers solutions to overusing computers, for boredom if you have a lot of spare time, and for better social skills if you don't know what to read or you are bored with what you would normally read or watch on television. By using your computer better and managing your time better, then it may reduce how much you use a computer overall. This is with the tips in this article. As well, the article talks about time off from a computer. This is such as watching a standard old-fashioned television or listening to the radio and doing other non-computer activities there are to do. It even suggests you might just do nothing and not feel you're doing anything wrong or completely wasting your time. This is if you don't feel like doing anything even if you could have done something. Social skills tips. Radiation. The problem with computers and televisions is that they have radiation from the screen. The computer keyboards can hurt your hands if you type too much or type poorly, and using speech recognition can be bad for your health if you talk for too long each day. Too much screen radiation can affect your concentration and mean you can't concentrate on anything else once you get off your computer. You might mindlessly click on buttons and feel like typing. This is when you are not really concentrating on your computer either. And this is no more than you would concentrate on anything else off your computer. Also, radiation from the screen reduces how much you are able to remember of any entertainment. It might also reduce how much decent television you watch or do anything decent. If you keep using a computer, you can eventually get painful swollen joints. This is from using your computer keyboard too much. And if you talk too much each day for too long, it can reduce your lifespan. Also, it is poor personal and oral hygiene to talk too much. Yet amazingly, computers offer solutions to these same problems. The article will also talk about these solutions. The first solution is to know about safe levels of radiation. When they had cathode ray tubes, the recommended safe levels of radiation were for you to use a computer for no more than 2 hours per day, and after 1 hour to take a 30-minute break. Flat screens, because they are less bulky, are further away from you. But the cathode ray tube's advice was often for people with large desks. Also, it is confusing as to if flat screens actually do have less radiation or not. This is other than that flat screens might have less radiation if only because you are generally a bit further away from the screen with them. And this is just because they are less physically bulky than the old cathode ray tube VDUs. This is when even a small distance further away from the screen can significantly reduce radiation. Possibly, there might still be some truth in the old advice. The old advice, to say what it was again, was that you would only use a computer for 2 hours per day with a half-hour break. Really, it might be advice people should still follow today. Another piece of advice might be as well that you should, if you use a computer, watch only very little television. Perhaps, only watch 1 to 2 hours television. Or you might even watch none. This is if you are going to use computers as well. Or it is if you think computer hobbies are more important to you than watching television. Benefits. There are many benefits to using computers. Oddly, this is including for using and improving your mind. Also, this is despite it to some people being a no-brainer that if you were worried about your mind, then you would not use a computer at all. Really, though, they had the same thing with televisions even years ago. And this was long before the first home PC. For example, in the past, they used to call people names for watching television. This was such as saying they had goggle eyes or they were square-eyed. People used to say this because there was an idea that television had a physical effect on the appearance. This was particularly in the appearance around the eyes. Some people said they could tell that people who watched television looked different. And they said anyone should also be able to tell the same as they could tell. But some people didn't seem to notice it much. And nor did they worry about it either. Television is audiovisual. It is a scientific fact that you remember 50% of what you see and hear. This compares to remembering 20% of what you hear only and about 10% of what you read. As well as this, television gives you a lot of information. This is more than the other two media of books or radio do. You can see what people look like and sound like on television. For example, this could be well-known people in history, or it could be as well-known historical events. There might be a film of it when it is not still so far back in the past that it is before film cameras. But you can also learn things about a subject from presenters. You can see body language, the tone of voice, where they are, or you can see the objects they are showing you. Also, a historically important film might help you to understand something about a subject a lot better. And you can't get all this just from a book. As well, you can see things from different angles. And you can see things being used. As well, you can see how things look when in situ. Really, you can see lots more than would be possible with a book. Illustrated books go halfway. But they are expensive. Also, they are bulky and heavy to carry. This is if you have to carry them back from the bookshop or the library. Or it is if you have to put them back or pick them up from your bookshelf. Try not to have snobbish attitudes that something isn't decent television. For example, you think only uneducated people watch it, or that there is something wrong with it other than that. There might not be. Having such attitudes about the media greatly reduces your enjoyment. As well, it is poor social skills to restrict your TV viewing like this. Also, by looking at a variety of formats, genres and types of shows, you can avoid getting bored. Then, you can enjoy yourself for longer. This is even if you have a lot of spare time to get bored in. You can get different formats for the written word. For example, you have books, newspapers, magazines, websites and e-books. Also, you have different lengths, genres, formal and informal styles, serious or sensationalist, up-to-date or less up-to-date and more. On the television, you have movies, documentaries, reality shows and news shows. And the same is true for radio, that you have different types of shows. Other shows are comedies, quiz shows, drama, interview programs and others. Learning. Computers can help you learn. For example, they offer tools that help students understand creative arts. Also, with computers you can do interactive tests. These are often better than the normal ones. As well, computers are sometimes just a gimmick, but one that gets people started. Computers also provide learning resources. An example of this is being able to get books such as e-books. But you can even buy traditional paper books online. This is a much greater variety than you can get in many local bookshops. Online bookstores particularly help people who aren't in large towns. They might not be near a large library or bricks and mortar bookshop. Also, computer spreadsheets help you to budget. They mean you can buy more media and still manage your money. As well, you can get bargains online. Health. Computers help your mind, at least temporarily. This is when they have tools to help you to learn. And this is particularly as well if you take breaks and don't use them too much each day. Also, computers can help you get physically fitter and healthier. They do this at least in theory, because you can look up health advice online you might not be able to get anywhere else. As well, you can keep notes about your health together better on a computer. and your notes don't get grubby or dirty. With health apps, you can see your progress doing exercise. Or this could be with another health regime as well. Also, there are lots of healthy recipes online. Health apps are also like a bit of me time or personal attention as well. So these apps help lonely or depressed people. Also, you can still use word processors and spreadsheets just the same as in the past. This is for keeping notes. Or you can analyze data about your own health. Also, despite what you hear about typing being bad for you, computers can even be good for your hands. If you handwrite too much, then you will also get joint problems the same as for typing. Computer word processors have editing tools. By using these tools, you do not need to either type or handwrite so much. For example, you don't need to write a plan out all over again. And nor do you any other document. So it is less time to do it. Also, it might mean less screen time, that is so little it is acceptable. Speech recognition is also a solution for typing a lot less. This is even if you only use it sometimes but not all the time. And you can print documents again. Printing a document again is more hygienic than keeping handwritten notes. This is when handwritten notes can become grubby. Also, speech recognition may reduce the amount you use a keyboard to almost nothing. Smart TVs are further away from you than a computer VDU on a desk. That means they have less radiation than the normal computer on a desk type setup. Smart TVs are good for being able to select a video and watching it in comfort from your armchair. This is the same in some ways that you would have watched your old-fashioned television in the past before computers. In one way, computers are no worse than a television. This is because they are very much like a television. And with smart TVs, they are even more similar. Still, it can be awkward to have a keyboard on a coffee table. This is so you can interact with your smart TV. And so you need something like a computer keyboard on a coffee table. Also, if you have a desk in your living room, it can obstruct the view of your television. As well, there is a theory that using a smart television to read from the screen is bad. It might in the future mean that people get eyesight problems. This is because it is not normal in the history of reading to read mid-distance. If it does come to the worst, many people who use smart TVs could go blind. But for now, if this doesn't happen, there is the advantage that screen radiation has already been identified as a major problem. And if you have a problem overusing your computer because you are an internet addict, then you might get serious brain damage quite soon. This is just by the way you are going now. As well, this is probably quite soon for sure. The only way you could avoid it is if you had a smart TV. Or you could avoid it if you just stopped using your computer and you weren't any longer a computer addict. But then nobody wants to go blind later on anyway. Radio. You don't want a radio on your bedside cabinet. This is when it is particularly unhygienic. Nor do you want to have it on a windowsill. This is when the wires can catch in the curtain. Also, rain or damp might come in through the window and possibly electrocute you. And all your neighbors can hear it. Also, you don't want it near a drawer. This is if the drawer opens, it could then pull out the wire. And this could electrocute you. Also, you could trip over it or otherwise it could cause an accident. Nor would you want a radio in the kitchen. You have water in a kitchen and it might get either water on it directly or it could get damp with condensation. Also, it is unhygienic as it is near food. As well, you have lots of noise in a kitchen. This is such as overhead fans, cookers and fridges. It makes it hard to hear your radio. And the clash of noise from your kitchen and the sound coming from your radio can affect your hearing. So you will have to find somewhere else to put it if you can. As well, if you lie in bed without having the radio next to you so you could turn it off if you are tired, you might then become seriously ill or even die. This is if you can't get to sleep when you are very tired. And you are too tired to go and switch off your radio. Books. For books, you want to reduce the amount of apparent choice. This is when you can only read a few books at once. Perhaps, have one serious novel and one trashy novel and one serious textbook and one trashy non-fiction. Keep these books separate from your other books. For example, you could have them on a bookshelf but in a separate compartment. Or you could keep them on top of a bookcase or on top of some other shelf. Also, you can have newspapers and magazines to read as well. And you can surf the World Wide Web for added interest to your normal reading. Or you can go online just to pick up tidbits. Hobbies. Goals when doing hobbies might be that you don't have too much screen time, do too much keying or have too much speaking time. Other alternatives avoid screen time but they might overuse still your hands or voice. These other alternatives are paper, musical instruments and portable sound recorders. Using a computer to do hobbies a lot might be too much screen time you want to avoid. But, as well, you don't want to duplicate efforts when using other technologies. This is such as making handwritten notes and then typing them up. It will overuse your hands working like this. As well, it might not reduce your screen time much. Speech recognition just from common sense means you use your hands less. But speaking too much is also harmful to health. Possibly, though, if you are alone for most of the day and you don't get out and see others much, then speech recognition makes more sense. After all, you still have to talk a bit each day just to avoid voice atrophy. Voice atrophy can be very serious. So your computer can help you. You can still use older technologies. For example, you can do art on paper. Also, you have paper books, newspapers and magazines. This is as well as e-books and websites. And you can play a normal musical instrument. Musical keyboard synthesizers use digital technology without the disadvantage of a screen. Possibly, you can use musical keyboards instead of computers and music-making software. Also, you can have paper notebooks instead of or as well as WP files. And you can have photo and art paper albums instead of having digital picture files on your computer. Overusing one particular sense. If you use your ears too much, then you might go deaf. This is if you do something such as listen to music too much. If you use your eyes too much, you might go blind. This is for example if you were to read too much or do too much art. Televisions are audio-visual. So they don't have this problem of overusing one sense. Also, to avoid overusing your eyes, you can have the radio on. This is such as when you are reading or doing art. Getting a sensory disability might only happen in old age. But, if you temporarily use one sense too much, then you can become ill sooner as well. You can get eye strain from overusing the eyes over a short period. Or you can get an earache from overusing the ears. Then you would have to rest and do nothing. This could be for quite a long time as well that it affected your life and caused you inconvenience and worry. It might not always get better as well. Or you would normally not want to take the risk that it might not and so see a doctor about it anyway. Lastly, you can save up, buy things, rearrange things and make your home pleasant and comfortable. And you can use a computer to help you to do this. You can find bargains online. As well, you can use a spreadsheet to budget. And then when your friends come around, you can put your computer away and chat to them normally. You as well still have television, books and everything else for normal social skills. And you can talk about anything and not just your computer. If you have normal social skills, then you will have something worth having. And if you don't overuse your computer or have too much screen time, then you will have something worth having as well. Also, this is true if you don't overuse your hands and voice. And if you don't just do computer hobbies but have other hobbies and interests as well, that is also worth having. The some reason to. The author hopes this article has helped you towards goals of better social skills, not overusing your computer and better health. The end.